Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there, welcome to the show. If I sound like I'm holding my nose, I'm sorry, I'm just all, nasal. More nasal than usual. Howdy, it's August 30, and blue moon. Actually, I was out last night and I saw this moon. I was unaware, and I thought, whoa, it was big and beautiful. It's not blue. That's sort of a misnomer, has nothing to do with color. If you want to know some facts about blue moon, I have them here, courtesy of the New York Times. The moon was full last night. It will be full tonight. The actual, at 9:36 tonight is when the blue super moon occurs. A super moon is different than a blue moon, and when the two of them come together, it becomes more and more unusual. So it says here to enjoy it, because you won't see it again till 2037. And who the hell knows if we'll be here. So it says here that a blue moon happens. It's, the phrase once in a blue moon, obviously, it's something that doesn't happen every day. It's when a single month has two full moons. I mean, normally a month has one full moon. This August has two. There was a full moon on August 1, and there'll be a full moon tonight. And that's because if you really want to go down the rabbit hole here, that's because the lunar cycle is not the same as the calendar. I mean, we think in terms of 30 days or 31 days per month, but the lunar cycle is actually 29 and a half days. Just saying. So that's just shy of the average length of a month. And so you end up with two full moons every once in a while in a single month. And because the moon is right now closer than it's at the perigee, right? Perigee, apogee and perigee. Is that? It's at the closest to the Earth that it gets, which is why it appears bigger. Sure do, and brighter. And then you have this blue supermoon. Don't ask me. What else does it say? Oh, tonight you might notice a really bright object to the upper right of the big, beautiful blue supermoon, and you'd be looking at Jupiter. No, you wouldn't. You'd be looking at Saturn, the one with the rings. And Saturn will be just a few days shy of reaching its closest point to us. And it'll end up going behind the moon overnight. So if you want to see the blue super moon and Saturn, that's happening tonight. Yep. I was texting back and forth with my siblings last night, and I sent them a picture I had taken of the moon. I said, "Look at the moon over my house tonight." And Susan immediately texted back, "Wow, I got to go look. And you know what? My initial reaction was, what? Because I'm thinking, this is the moon over my house. And she says, I got to go look, and she ain't even here. Do you believe you can have those incredibly stupid reactions, forgetting that all over the earth, people can see the moon? Right, there it is. So she ran out and saw it. Amazingly, it was in Wisconsin as well. Oh, yeah. So, I'm avoiding things here. You don't know that, but I'm telling you straight. There's some days when you can take in the news and it doesn't really bother you all that much. You sort of take it in, but also keep it at arm's length. Sort of how, you can sometimes talk about mortality, about your, you're going to die. And you can talk about it and have, blah, 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 like I'm doing right now. And then there are times when the idea, the thought, the reality of your own death does hit you, like right in the gut. And that's sort of what the news, for some reason, did to me today. And it's not as if there's anything particularly different than any given day in this very newsy time. But just sometimes, I guess, our defenses are our ability to take it in and swallow sort of is not as, I don't know. As I said to myself when I sighed mightily getting out of bed, what is it? Nothing, Avery. But I just have, that's where I am today. I'm just telling you. I don't think I can handle, one of the things that's got me is the shootings. I just, if you start your day looking at the news is just so often filled with senseless death, killing, guns. And behind that often is hate, obviously. And it's so dispiriting. And given the unique situation in the country in which we reside, in regard to access to, love of, special status of guns, it's really rough. It's really rough to take in. I often don't mention I didn't mention the shooting, the Dollar General. And then when you find out, you see the pictures of the 3 people who were blown away by that despicable. Why do all the people who think they're somehow part of the master race look like they make the Pillsbury Doughboy look like he's some hot number? What the hell? What pathetic. And then you learn about the people. It's part of what I can't do anymore. I heard about in Braddock, what was that? yesterday, day before, 2 teenage boys, they're gone. A third, I don't know, critical or dead, I don't know. These are young people. I can't bear it. I feel like I can't bear it. Did you happen to see a picture of the front page of the student newspaper at the University of North Carolina, where there was a shooting? On Monday, a student blowing away a professor and terrorizing the campus for a bit. Well, it's a brilliant front page. And if they give out awards for front pages, it should win. What they did to capture that huge event that they had all experienced on their campus. What they did was simply copy some of the text messages that were being sent when the students were told there was an active shooter and to get safe as they could. And all it is, and they started it out graphically, it's just amazing. Starts out pretty big, bold font, and it gets sort of a little smaller line after line, and every once in a while, one will be in red. And you see that the end result of it is just this page full of terror. I'll read some. And understand these are all just cheek to jowl. It's just a full page of texts. Are you safe? Where are you? Are you alone? Guys, I'm so fucking scared. Now understand, these are all separate. These are not the same one. Hey, come on, sweetheart. I need to hear from you. Can you hear any gunshots? Please stay safe. Barricade the door. Or if you think you can, run. Get to a place that can lock. Do so. My teacher's acting like nothing is happening. I'm low-key freaking out. I wish these never happened. Stay calm and safe. I love you. I'm so sorry. I love you. What is happening? I'm in class. Everyone is losing it. People are literally shaking. Still going on and coming closer, hoping it's cops. I'm going to fucking throw up. I kind of wish I had someone else here. Please pray for me. Are you home? Somebody's been shot. It's scary. And it goes on and on. It's getting smaller and smaller, so now I can't read it anymore. And this is life in America for young people. All of the people texting this likely grew up and went to schools, grade schools, and middle schools, and high schools, in which they did drills. So, man, and I was here in the piece I read in the Times today, some student, Jake Diana, says, I was terrified and that he rushed to a conference room, and there were about a dozen students in it, and then they barricaded the door with a bookcase. They switched off the lights. They silenced their phones. They lay on the ground. You know what's pathetic? They knew what to do because this is life in America. I wouldn't know that you silence your phone. It all makes sense. Make the room look like it's unoccupied. This is our country. And this same student said he texted his friends and family and then just began praying. He said, I said to God, I said, I have to get through this. I said, I want to do so much with my life. And then on the same page up above that, I'm looking at the faces of people whose lives were snuffed out at the Dollar General. And then I'm reading a story about the great state of Tennessee and its Republican supermajority legislature, who had been in session because the governor had called a special session to deal with gun violence because they'd had a horrific school shooting. And you know what they did? Nothing. Oh yeah, they silenced the blacks among them. They shut them up again, ordered them, essentially out of order. Out of order by virtue of being black in the Tennessee legislature. And you read this stuff and how that's just, okay, I'm just talking about page A12 of today's New York Times. And now I see why I got out of bed with that huge sigh. Because this is an indictment of us. Tennessee is just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling what's going on there. Unbelievable. And this is like, these are the places where Republicans have lost all sense of what the job they've been elected to do is. For them, it's just about total power and control and shutting up and closing down and muscling out the people who aren't them. It's Charlie Pierce, who's a guy who I like to read when I can get at him. He's writes for Esquire. He has again like somewhat of a depressing piece that's headlined, "These conservative shenanigans are bone deep and beyond antidote." And I think he's right, and I'm sorry that they chose the word shenanigans, because that is to me a light word. Bone deep is right. Beyond antidote is right. And he says that all of this poison that the Republicans are putting into our bloodstream will continue to circulate no matter what happens this year or 2024, that there's too many of them, and there's too many people who have literally, clearly lost their mooring, their bearing. He says this, the conservative disrespect. And here I just want to say, if I were a conservative, I would take issue with his use of the adjective. I would say that there is nothing conservative about today's Republican Party. It's a white nationalist, neo-fascist party. And I think there's a lot of people who are true conservatives who are not white nationalist, neo-fascists. And they're generally not Republicans anymore. So he says the conservative disrespect for democratic norms and institutions is such a vital part of Republican politics these days that the GOP cannot stop itself, even if it wanted to, which it apparently doesn't. Beyond the fact that the National Republican Party cannot and will not stop being a human shield for inmate number P01135809, aka Donald Trump, that they will not stop being a human shield for that pathetic criminal. Republicans out in several states, he says, are breaking a ton of rocks, not taking no for an answer. Not taking no for an answer from the people at the ballot box. A nuisance they see those people as. And he focuses on Tennessee, and he focuses on Wisconsin. What Republicans in those two states, and it's not the only two, what they do to get around what the people want. Do you see in Georgia? Did I even see that right? Did they pass something where they can now specifically saying that they can go after and remove the state can DAs? And it's just a bill targeted to knock off Bonnie Willis. Knock her out of her position. So this is how they use their power. They pass specific laws to go after a specific person or problem, and they do it unabashedly. They do it with no shame or compunction or respect for democratic norms and institutions and the will and voice of the people. The paper in the Tennessean, the paper that in Nashville that does extraordinary reporting of what's going on in their legislature, gave this account of what happened there yesterday, Monday. House Republicans voted to silence Representative Dustin Jones, Democrat of Nashville, for the remainder of the day after he was twice ruled out of order by House Speaker Cameron Sexton. By the way, being out of order just means saying something they don't want to hear. This is a guy they expelled, and then he was immediately voted right back in a special election because the people want him there. And now they silence him regularly. They pass new rules so they could say, you are out of order. Yells of fascists and racists rang down from the gallery. Lawmakers, that'd be Republicans, voted 70 to 20. That's how much control they had. 70 Republicans in that chamber, 20 Democrats. They voted 70 to 20 to discipline Jones. And the speaker ordered state troopers to clear the balconies of the people. It's what they did is they instituted new rules about decorum, which is the way they threw him out of the chamber earlier, right? You know those uppity black people. And these white racist SOBs think they exhibit decorum? It even got physical. There were people getting close to getting truly physical. People, parents of children who were killed in the shooting at the school there last year, were out, having been thrown out of the chamber themselves, were weeping and sobbing. It's really something. So this is what's going on in this country. And today, I, for some reason, am it's hitting me in a way that is just can't. Well, CNN's got a new chief. You see that? Maybe this guy will, he certainly got a good resume. So the guy who's now going to head CNN headed the BBC. And then he went from the BBC to the New York Times and at the top in both those. So he's already, been at the top of news operations that are generally believed to do the job, pretty well. I have complaints I can lodge about both BBC and the Times, but generally speaking, his name is Mark Thompson, and he'll be taking over in October. So we'll see. I hope he can get it together, because it'd be nice to have CNN uprighted in many respects. I mean, God knows this country needs as many reputable and I'll just stop at reputable news sources as it can. Yeah. So the thing. So why haven't I seen more about this? That the Republicans in the legislature in Georgia moved heaven and earth, expedited the passage of one bill. Usually these things take time. They get written, they go to committee. Well, you know the song. They expedited this baby, and the new law allows the state, I'm not sure who, the legislature or the governor, to remove local prosecutors. And obviously this was pushed through so they could go after Fani Willis, as she is about to prosecute Donald Trump. It's amazing. So are they going to do that? What is her recourse? And I don't understand it. I know DeSantis, as the Florida governor, has moved twice to knock DAs out of their offices. DAs that were elected by the people. And of course, the DAs that are elected by the people are Democrats, and the governors who are overriding the will of the people are Republicans. I didn't know you could do that. I mean, in Pennsylvania, I don't think you can do that. The Republicans here wanted to go after the progressive DA in Philadelphia, but they couldn't do what Georgia is going to do, or what DeSantis does. He wakes up in a bad mood to flout the will of the people. Here, the Republicans in the legislature who wanted to get the DA in Philly, they had to initiate impeachment proceedings. And they went nowhere. They couldn't get him. So they can't, in Pennsylvania, do what these states are doing. I'm just confused by it. I truly am confused by it. It's just sort of stunningly anti-democratic. Stunning. All right, here's something just to relieve us for a second that I came upon today too on Twitter. And it's by, I don't know, it's a site that puts Pittsburgh history little bits up. And it's just it's just one sentence from a journal that was kept by a guy named Colonel John May, who's long gone. He died in 1812. But Colonel John May made his way to Pittsburgh in 1788. And here's just the first little sentence from his journal, 1788. Pittsburgh is in plain sight at half a mile distance. It is an irregular, poorly built place. The inhabitants, perhaps because they lead too easy a life, inclined to be extravagant and lazy. What? I mean, I'll just say, I have no idea what Pittsburghers were like in 1788. But how would this guy, who isn't even there yet, he's half a mile away, and he's already saying that the inhabitants lead too easy a life? they're extravagant and lazy. I just don't understand any of it. I mean, because in 1788, the only way you could be extravagant would be obviously to have money. And the only way you get money is either through inheritance, right, or to work for it. I don't even understand what the hell he's talking about. But I found myself like getting pissed off at John May. Just wanted to say. Okay. All right. We got a caller. Oh, good, because I was going to change topics. Hello.
Hey, Lynn. Well, maybe just think that guy was really drunken in Cleveland and he thought it was Pittsburgh.
Okay. Oh, God.
You know what? I just saw an article this past weekend about the whole thing with this council that was kind of pushed through the Georgia legislature, I think, in the spring. And I think it has a couple, there might be still it's in front of their state Supreme Court too, the legality of this thing. But
yeah.
you already had a couple of, and again, it's the predominantly black churches, the AMEs and the Baptist bishops, who were, I think the one was actually a supporter of Kemp, came out and said, look, you need to, at this point, stand behind her and let this process play out, considering this is the judicial process we have. I think each branch, or he has, I think, like one vote of who gets, seated on this commission, or the governor's office gets a seat, the House gets a seat, the Senate gets a seat. And I know the House, I think, already gave whoever their designate for this council is, who of course is a right-wing nut job. So the kind of their thing is, don't seat your candidate. Just don't do it.
So okay, so the law that they passed puts in place this council that then is able to remove district attorneys.
Correct.
And the council is not fully formed yet, and there are people saying don't fully form it. That's a way to not fully form it, to prevent it. And also you're saying their Supreme Court is looking at it?
I think their Supreme Court is still looking at it because it doesn't, technically the thing can't start operation, I think, till sometime in October.
Yeah, October. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
And if it does start up in October, they're just going, this is to get rid of her.
Right. And the thing is, but you know what? I really, being down there when Kemp ran for governor the first time, and of course Trump went down there to support him and everything, I was really surprised how he backed his people during the Georgia recount. He really did.
Yes, he did.
And he is in the quag. I think he is praying beyond praying that this thing gets turned over completely federally, because if not, he has two headaches. Headache one is the fact that, you have now this council thing where you can have the DA removed. Number two is if these people are found guilty, he's going to be under tremendous pressure to pardon them.
Oh, for God's sake.
I'm just saying, I mean, he's really, I hate to say it.
Well, he did the right thing in the last time around, right? He did the right thing.
And he's very popular in Georgia.
And make no mistake, this is a conservative Republican, and but he did stand up for his state when Trump et al. Tried to overturn the vote there. He did.
And I think the thing that I think really kind of pushed him was the fact that his people, his friends that he put in those positions, the Secretary of State and everything else.
Yeah, they were Republicans too.
And their families and everything, with the death threats and all that. I think that if there's anything that shook him, I think it was that shook him this way. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how it plays out, and if he does seat someone on this commission, or if he does actually hold up and say, no, this has been a process, this is our law, let's see what happens. And also, I think Kemp is also probably thinking, he's either looking to run for Osloff's seat next time, or is he even looking at like a VP candidacy, down the road too? I'm not sure. But that would be the other thing looking at.
Yeah, well, he's in given the insanity loose in the Republican Party, if you are not one of the totally insane and you hold a position like his, you are, between a rock and a hard place in a lot of respects.
And the other thing too, I think, sorry, Lynn, I apologize for interrupting. The other thing we were talking just about, like the crazy states of Tennessee and here and there, and it's also the thing too, when you look at the demographics of people that have moved from the West into these southern areas, who they're liberals, they're gravitating to the cities. I mean, part of the reason Georgia, I think, went blue is all those counties around, because the influx of people that have moved from the North, from the West into these areas. Same thing with Nashville. And I think these state legislators are starting to kind of, and I agree, it's not the normal ones, it's these fascist Republican types that, they're trying to change the rules before the blues take over in that state. And the numbers are showing the way that people are matriculating to these areas and changing them. I mean, I think that's even some of the thing here in West Virginia. The area where I'm at, Mon County, completely blue. The area of Charleston, West Virginia, has turned completely blue. It's just kind of that weird area in between, but those are getting to be the most populated areas of the state.
Yeah. Kemp, wouldn't he have had to, as governor, sign the bill that created this commission, this council? So he probably already, he had a shot at taking it out there, vetoing it.
I think it might have been overridden. I have to double check that.
Really?
Something's telling me. I think it had enough votes to be overridden. So if that's the case, you just sign it, because it's either you lose whatever political hand you have, or it's going to be overridden.
Right. Oh dear God. I don't know. It's beyond belief to me that the Republican Party becoming what it has, unhinged and terrifying. And to quote that extremely conservative Justice Luttig, who testified at the January 6th hearing, he flat out said that the Republican Party as currently constituted represents a clear and present danger to this nation. And he has been a lifelong member of that party.
Every time you
got a shot, but
every time you have a different crazy movement going with these people, all I keep thinking is Elsie Hillman just keeps rolling in her grave.
Yeah.
Because she loved that party, but she also believed in other issues. And when the party started to switch, then she just started funding, the candidates that still believed in a woman's right to choose. This party is not the way I had grown up in the GOP. It's scary.
Well, I'm thinking,
scary.
It's a terrifying party. They are frightening. And what they're doing to this country right now is terrifying. And there are days when I can, look past it and not feel the terror. And obviously today's one of those days where I'm feeling it. I'm fearful. I'm truly afraid.
Oh, I know. How far south do you have to go depending on what happens in the next election? And the reasonable Republicans, let's just say the law, the quote unquote, I at least follow the Constitution. I mean, the line hasn't gotten really thin.
God, amazing.
Just following the Constitution. Those that have spoken up, the death threats and stuff they're getting. I hope. I don't know. I don't know if it's better if they do try to form a third party or just lay low and fight for your own party. And I'm kind of leaning more so towards you need to fight and start standing up for your own party. And you need to start having your big money folks go and threaten the other big money folks that are funding these lunatics. You guys really got to clean your own house, and it's not happening.
Good God, it's not. Well, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye-bye.
As usual. Bye. Bye. God almighty. Speaking of a third party, you know, there's that no labels party that is a stalking horse for Trump, whether they acknowledge it or not. And they're trying to get on the ballot. And then there's the Green Party, which has already chosen its presidential candidate. And that is the former Harvard professor, Cornel West. And what a piece of work that guy is. He can't win. All he can do is what Ralph Nader did and what other third-party candidates have done, and that is ensure the loss of the party whose voters you are appealing to. And for the Green Party, that would be on the left side of the spectrum. And so he, in his candidacy with the Green Party, would be peeling votes away from Joe Biden and potentially electing Donald Trump. When things are as close as they are, just a few votes, as we learned, right? A few votes here and there can make the difference. And Cornel West is a loose cannon, and I think I never liked the guy. And when I heard that he was doing this, my dislike for him, doubled down. And then I see this in the Week magazine. He owes more than $500,000 in taxes and child support. He has long advocated for higher taxes. But apparently he doesn't believe in paying them. He owes almost $500,000 just in federal taxes. And more than $50,000 in child support. When asked about this, he did not deny the facts that he ain't paying his taxes and he ain't paying child support. He called, though, the news of these facts a distraction, an effort to harm his candidacy. Well, fine and dandy. You throw your hat in the ring, Professor West, then you're darn tootin' people are going to come and poking around. It's what journalists do. And then, as if this is going to make people feel better about him, he says, anytime you shine a flashlight under somebody's clothes, you're going to find all kind of mess. Well, I don't know. I know an awful lot of people who would pass scrutiny in terms of their taxes, their child support. God. Stomach. anybody who's like, are you watching like CNN's hurricane coverage? Because, it's landfall and all that stuff. We've all learned what hurricane coverage is. First, there's the days where you watch that thing approach and they tell people to get the hell out of Dodge. And then you see the news people standing in places where they say, this is very dangerous here, but they're there, which I always found odd. Anyway, here's what I've learned. Don't bother looking until the storm is gone and you start to see reporting of what happened. Because there's nothing you're going to see today much other than, the shots of the water rising and the wind blowing and the journalists standing in places they're telling people not to stand. I don't. Jonathan writes, not sure if you covered this specifically, but in Georgia, this is interesting information. Thank you. And Beth, in West Virginia, you'll be happy to hear this. If Trump is found guilty in Georgia of interfering in their election, the governor cannot pardon him or any of the other defendants if they're found guilty. In Georgia, a governor does not have pardon authority. That's amazing. That's unusual, isn't it? Unlike other states, in Georgia, pardons are issued by the Georgia State Board of Pardons and Paroles, a 5-member panel. Boy, they like these panels. Authorized by the state constitution, the board considers application beginning at least 5 years after a person has completed their sentence. So even if this panel is made up of Trumpers, they couldn't pardon any of these guys till they'd served at least 5 years. So that's good news. Jonathan, I thank you for that. Good stuff. I want to share this story because I don't know how much attention it got, or if you know about it. I always feel bad because I don't know what you know. And then I realize that I listen to, shows where people are talking about something I already know about, but it doesn't mean I don't find it still interesting or learn something new or the repetition. Anyway, this has to do with Fox News, and it is an outrage that they are allowed to call themselves a news station and be protected by the First Amendment. Since they are not a news operation, they are a propaganda outfit. And they disseminate false news so often that the head spins. And unlike a true journalistic organ, if found to have broadcast false news, they do not correct it. They do not own up. They do not make sure that their viewers have been apprised that they were incorrectly told something. And there's one story that they have not apologized for, retracted. They quietly just sort of like, it disappeared off their website. But not before they trumpeted it out. A totally false story that was intended to make the government, federal government, looked bad, really bad. And this was also intended to make the Pentagon look bad. The Marine Corps was so incensed about this story that they approached the highest levels of Fox News last month to say, the story you are reporting, that one of our fallen Marines, that family had to cover the cost of transporting her remains and her burial and all of that, is absolutely a lie. It has to do with a Marine Sergeant Nicole G. She was one of 13 Marines killed in a suicide bombing in 2021 in Kabul. And this year, July 25th, Fox News ran a story and put out the information that a Republican congressman from Florida had given them, Representative Corey Mills, who told Fox that Sergeant G's family had to pay $60,000 to retrieve her body. They even had quotes from her family. It's a lie. The whole thing is a lie and made up. The Marine Corps says her body was shipped to Arlington National Cemetery. There were no charges to her family. And the Marine Corps, Major James Stenger, who took on the Fox executives, he wrote to them, the allegations you published are false. And we demand a retraction. The congressman has not retracted. Nobody has done a retraction. Here's what Fox did. Their original headline had said, family forced to pay to ship body of Marine killed after Pentagon policy change. Egregious injustice. That was the first headline. They put it out. And then when the Marine Corps went berserk and came down on them for the story being false, here's what Fox did instead. Family shouldered burden to transport body of Marine killed in Afghanistan, GOP rep says. It doesn't matter. And the Marine Corps says, it's still wrong what you're saying. That representative, that Republican representative is full of crap. And the Marine Corps said to Fox News, using the grief of a family member of a fallen Marine to score cheap clickbait points is disgusting. Then Fox quietly took the story off its website. Never did a correction. Never did a retraction, never did an apology to the family of the fallen Marine. The Marines have apologized to the family, even though they hadn't done anything. It's unbelievable. They traffic in lies. and even when called out, refuse to do the right thing, the proper thing, and correct it, apologize, and make sure that that kind of thing doesn't happen again. That's what other news operations do. Just unbelievable. Okay, I had wanted to tell you that if you missed it, I'm sure I could do a story on Fox News Lies, every day. That one just seemed particularly egregious. It was just made up out of whole cloth by a fine, upstanding member of the Florida delegation to the representatives. All right, that's it for me. I'm so done. I'll be here tomorrow. Hope you will be as well.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.